Hudson, a major railroad town nestled deep in the state of New York, is where the New York Central and Pennsylvania railroads meet. Here, we will sit back, relax, and enjoy some quality rail fanning from the 1950s. 433 Productions is proud to present the Altoona and Hudson Railroad. The Camelback locomotive is certainly unique, with its cab in the middle of the boiler as opposed to the cab normally placed in the rear. What really sold them, though, was the fuel economy, which saved about $2,000 a year, or $30,000 in today's money. For 50 years, these speedy little engines dashed all over North America. Here we see a former B&O 060 Camelback riding a train. All aboard! This locomotive is a 440 American-type steam locomotive. It is very similar to the General, a famous locomotive during the time of the Civil War. However, it is actually a former Central Pacific locomotive, number 1. Still in preservation, this locomotive works as well today as it did in 1890. We now see the famous Flying Scotsman, unknown to the A&D, from the York Railway Museum in York, England. She was built by the British designer Sir Nigel Gresley, built by Doncaster Railway Works in 1923. It was taken out of service in 1963 and restored in 1968. It was in pieces by 1995, and another restoration project began in 2007, and thought to be completed later this year, that is, if sufficient funds are raised. It set a top speed record of 100 miles an hour, which stood for a while until broken by the city of Truro, and that record was later broken by the Mallard, whose record still stands today. All three locomotives still exist today and are owned by the York Railway Museum. This is a Pennsylvania Road H10 consolidation-type locomotive, number 7688, in the shops for overhauling. She was built by Lima Locomotive Works in 1915. The H8 through H10 class consolidations replaced all other H-class locomotives on the railway at the time. They were the mainstay of the freight service on the Pennsy all up until 1957. Number 7688 sports a Line's tender, a trademark of the H10. Note the sloping side coal boards on the top, which made room for larger coal load for longer runs. Its boiler and cab are elsewhere, being fixed because of a weakened steam chest and damaged sand dome. She was now on static display at the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, along with two earlier H-class locomotives. And the Camelback locomotive backs down the main line, running light. And now we see one of the saddest sights for steam-loving rail fans, as one of the first-generation F-class streamlined diesels under the Santa Fe livery rolls by with a mix-up. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to catch our next volume, The Pennsylvania Railroad.